Is the BLU G50 Mega a good phone to buy in 2021? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. What's going on, guys? Khalipa's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're gonna be taking a look at the BLU G50 Mega and going over what kind of value it provides in 2021. Before we get started, I do wanna remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. So this phone has a 6.5-inch IPS LCD display with a resolution of 720p, a PPI of 270, and an aspect ratio of 20:9. I do have the brightness at 100% right now, and I would say it looks pretty good. The colors look really nice, and for only being a 720p display, the quality is actually pretty decent. The bezels are really thin, which I really like about this phone. Right here, we got a water drop notch for the front-facing camera. This camera is 8 megapixels. I'm not a huge fan of water drop notches. This one doesn't look too bad, but it still doesn't look nearly as clean as a hole punch camera would. The phone has a decently thin design, so it's not going to be uncomfortable to hold in your hand or carry in your pocket, but at the same time, at 6.5 inches, this display is plenty big enough to give you a good experience with content consumption. So whether you're playing a game, watching a video, or even reading, having a large display like this is going to help a lot because you'll be able to see everything just a lot larger, so it'll be overall more comfortable. Now this phone has 32 gigabytes of internal storage with micro SD card expansion, so that's about pretty average for this price range. It's not too terribly impressive, but it's not terrible either. For the average user, as long as you watch what you're putting on your phone, you should have plenty of space, especially with the micro SD card expansion. You should be able to boost that up for your photos and videos if you need to. But if you're a power user, if you have lots of larger apps on your phone and it's mostly apps that's taking up the space, then you're probably gonna wanna look at a different device, because while 32 gigabytes isn't bad for this price range, it's still not a ton of space. So if you have lots of larger apps, then it's gonna fill up really fast. This phone has no wireless charging, which isn't too much of a surprise, but it does have a fingerprint scanner right here on the back, as well as face unlock if you ever want to use that instead. Let's go ahead and give this fingerprint scanner a try and see what it can do. There we go, one more time. And as you can see, this fingerprint scanner is really fast and responsive, no issues here. For the rear camera setup, we got a 12 megapixel main camera and a 12 megapixel depth sensing camera. So this camera setup doesn't have as many features as a lot of other phones. No ultra wide camera, no macro camera, nothing like that. But it does have a real good portrait mode. With a 12 megapixel depth sensing camera, you're definitely gonna be able to get some decent shots with this, but at the same time, keep in mind this is a very entry-level phone, so don't expect flagship quality or anything like that when you're taking photos. That being said, if you're a more casual user of the camera and just like to take a couple nice pictures for social media or something like that, this phone should be perfectly fine. For video, this phone can shoot 1080p videos in the rear camera and 720p in the front, so that's not very impressive in my opinion. Any phone that can only shoot 720p in either of the cameras is gonna have a bit of a drawback, because most phones, even entry-level ones, can shoot at least 1080p in every camera. But I would say if you're only using the video functions for something like Snapchat where the quality is pretty much irrelevant, then it should be perfectly fine. But if you actually plan on keeping the videos, then I would say you would probably do better with a different device, because the microphone of this phone isn't the best either. So not only is the video quality pretty questionable, but you're also not going to be getting the greatest audio quality either. So this is probably not going to be the best device for shooting videos that you're going to want to keep. Internally, this phone is getting 2 gigabytes of RAM with the Unisoc SC9863A processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on this phone and it came back with a single core score of 153 and a multi-core score of 774. So while it's not great, it's not really that bad either. I would say if you're using your phone for more basic activities, just browsing the web, maybe some light social media use, and basic mobile functions, or playing a few simpler games, then the device should be perfectly fine. But if you're getting into more high performance gaming or doing anything that's really demanding on the processor, it's not going to do the greatest because this phone doesn't have a lot of RAM and the processor itself isn't very strong either. But that being said, I haven't had any performance issues with this phone as I've been using it. So what I would recommend is downloading Geekbench 5 and running it on your current device and comparing it to this to see if this phone would be an upgrade. This phone has a 4000 milliamp hour battery. This supports 10 watt fast charging, so it's not a bad battery at all. You're gonna be getting a decent amount of battery life from it. It's not the biggest battery out there. There are plenty of entry-level phones with 5000 milliamp hour batteries. So if battery life is your absolute top priority, then you're probably gonna be able to do better than this phone. But if all you want is a decent battery that's not gonna die on you too fast, then this phone is gonna be perfectly fine because a 4000 milliamp hour battery is gonna have plenty of life. To put this into perspective, the iPhone 12 has just over a 2800 milliamp hour battery, so this phone's battery is quite a bit bigger than the iPhone 12's battery, so keep that in mind. It's not like 4000 milliamp hours is a terrible battery, not by any means, but at the same time, it's not the biggest out there, so just be aware of that. In addition to this, the 10 watt fast charging is going to be real nice when you have to charge up your phone a little bit faster because it's going to be able to charge your phone a lot more in a shorter period of time. This phone does run on Android 10 and I don't think it's going to be getting an update anytime soon. So if you're one of those people who wants to get the latest versions of Android when they come out, this is not going to be the device for you because Android 10 is pretty old now. We're on Android 11, getting real close to Android 12. So even though Android 10 is a good software and it runs really well on this phone, if you do want a newer version of Android, again, this is not going to be the device for you. So in conclusion, is the BLU G50 Mega a good phone to buy in 2021? For the price, I would say it's a decent choice. While this phone isn't really great at anything, it's pretty decent at everything relative to its price range. If you're just using your phone for basic activities and don't have any specific use for it that's gonna be more extreme than average, for example, you don't have a ton of photos and videos, you're not trying to use any crazy powerful apps or anything like that, or just in general, you're not gonna be on your phone a lot, then this phone's gonna be perfectly fine. It's gonna be great for consuming content like streaming videos and that sort of thing. And basic mobile activities like sending text messages and making calls is of course gonna be really good and easy on this phone too. So I would say if that's all you're really gonna be doing, then it's gonna be perfectly fine. But if you're expecting any higher end performance, if you like to take really nice photos with the camera or do more web browsing than the average person or edit videos or anything like that, then you're probably gonna wanna look at a different device because although this phone has decent qualities as far as the specs go, it's really nothing special and really it's only meant for basic activities anyway. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. But that's it for this video. If you want to learn more about the phone, be sure to check out my full review of the phone on the channel. And if you happen to be watching this after you bought the phone, don't forget to check out my tips and tricks and beginner's guide for this phone as well. But as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.